Olá, boa tarde. Parece que funciona. Pedia para se irem sentando porque vamos da sala. Muito boa tarde a todos. Eu sou a Maria Cortês Lobão e é com enorme alegria que estamos aqui hoje para ouvir, para conversar com o padre Halík. Quero primeiro de tudo agradecer à Gulbenkian que gentilmente nos cede este espaço, este auditório. Quero evidentemente reconhecer a presença dos senhores embaixadores da República Checa, Martin e Carolina Paul. Quero agradecer muito ao senhor Núncio Dom Ivo Scalpolo e ao monsenhor Teixeira Alves. Agradecer o nosso querido patriarca, Dom Rio Valério, o padre José Manuel Pereira da Almeida, vice-reitor da Universidade Católica Portuguesa. Uma palavra de gratidão ao Dom Alexandre Palma, que vai estar aqui, como já perceberam, na mesa. Duas coisas, além dos livros que já viram e que já foram assinados, amanhã, às 11 da manhã, na Loja das Paulinas, na Rua Pinheiros Chagas, número 23, o padre Halík estará para assinar e dar autógrafos. O processo vai ser, vamos primeiro ouvir a flautista, depois o tradutor, depois haverá o padre José Manuel Pereira da Almeida, que também falará, o senhor embaixador, e entretanto, depois da conversa, da partilha que o padre Halík vai ter connosco, haverá uma espécie de um diálogo que começará com o Dom Alexandre Palma e depois será aberta a perguntas e temos o maior gosto que colaborem connosco nesta conversa que vamos ter. Muito bem-vindos, até já. A Mónica deve estar a chegar, aí que está. Além de tudo, também é professora agregada da Universidade de Évora e vai-nos tocar duas peças que vai explicar.
Muito boa tarde. É realmente uma grande honra de estar aqui e poder tocar estas duas peças para flauta solo. Primeira peça da Hildegard von Bingen. Era uma santa, mas ao mesmo tempo era uma compositora, era também médica, investigadora. Esta peça temos os nossos sofrimentos e todas as mágoas que nos passamos pela vida. É de facto um alívio, por isso eu gostava de vos oferecer este momento e espero que gostem. Obrigada.
Muito obrigado, Mónica. Pedi ao Sr. Embaixador se fazia o favor de nos vir dizer umas palavras.
Reverendíssimo Núncio, Excelências, Excelentíssimas Senhoras e Senhores. Eu sou Martin Paul e tenho a honra de ser o embaixador da República Checa a Portugal. É uma grande honra que fui convidado pelas Irmãs Paulinas para dizer algumas palavras esta noite. E eu tenho de confessar, eu queria falar um pouquinho em português e um pouquinho em inglês. Ainda não tenho capacidade em frente a este auditório, não tenho coragem de falar em português. E mais uma vez, o tradutor é o meu antigo professor de português e eu tenho grande medo que eu não passar este exame. So, with your permission, I will switch into English. I'm really honored that I was asked to say a few words, and I can promise you that it will be really, indeed, just a few words, because I'm sure that you are looking forward following speakers. I have to say that I really feel honored and lucky to be here this special night in many contexts, and I have to confess as well that I feel proud. And I know it's a sin, but I feel to be proud that the Embassy of the Czech Republic in Lisbon humbly contributed to traduction of the latest book of Professor Halík into Portuguese. It's, if I'm well informed, it's already the 6th book of Professor Halík, which is translated into Portuguese, and it makes him the most translated contemporary Czech writer into Portuguese. So congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, senhoras e senhores, just to keep my initial promise that I will be very short, I would like to wish you a great evening. I would like to wish the book, this is the book, a great success, many readers, and great impact into a Portuguese society. So, have a great evening. Muito obrigado pela sua atenção e obrigado. Boa noite.
O senhor embaixador dizia que não falava muito português, vimos todos que fala lindamente português. Muito obrigada por essa delicadeza para connosco. Padre José Manuel Pereira de Almeida, se faz favor.
Muito boa noite. Aproveito para saudar quem nos saudou, Maria Cortês de Lobão, e depois pedir licença para aproveitar as saudações que ela já fez a todos e ficamos cumprimentados. Quando eu vinha a entrar, a anterior reitora da Universidade Católica Portuguesa vinha também, eu chamo-lhe sempre reitora, por uma vez reitora, e é mais ou menos como os escoteiros, e ela disse-me, Sinais dos Tempos, não foi o nosso Dom José Policarpo que fez a tese de doutoramento sobre os Sinais dos Tempos? Foi, sim, senhor. E eu, por isso, gostaria de recordar, primeiro que tudo, o cardeal Policarpo, professor da Faculdade de Teologia, depois seu diretor, bispo auxiliar de Lisboa e depois patriarca, reitor da Universidade Católica Portuguesa antes de ser patriarca, e cuja tese de doutoramento foi editada em 1971 com este título, Sinais dos Tempos, Gênese Histórica e Interpretação Teológica. De facto, a leitura dos Sinais dos Tempos, como diz o professor José Eduardo Borges de Pinho, que eu gostaria de saudar neste momento, também numa situação de saúde delicada, diz ele, Na leitura dos sinais dos tempos, a Igreja não tem a pretensão de dispor de uma capacidade de percepção racional do mundo superior à que outras comunidades, visões do mundo ou caminhos humanos de abordar a realidade julgam ter, mas tem a pretensão de possuir elementos de uma sabedoria que, não sendo conquista sua, mas dom recebido, não seja desejo de domínio, mas proposta de sentido e serviço, não pode deixar de testemunhar. Ele indica 3. Como força de esperança, como indicativo de verdade e como apelo ao amor fraterno. E como a Conferência sobre os Sinais dos Tempos vai fazer o professor Tomáš Halík, eu deixava-vos este aperitivo e desejo de uma boa sessão e de uma excelente leitura de um interessante livro. Muito obrigado.
Irmã Liette, faz favor.
Boa tarde a todos, sintam-se todos cumprimentados, bem-vindos, Sr. Núncio Apostólico, Sr. Patriarca, caro Tomáš Halík e todos os presentes. É com grande alegria e honra que damos as boas-vindas ao Padre Tomáš Halík, um dos grandes pensadores contemporâneos da Igreja e um exemplo extraordinário de fé, coragem e diálogo. A sua presença aqui é motivo de imensa gratidão e celebração para todos nós. Quero também agradecer de coração a presença de todos os que se juntaram a nós nesta ocasião tão especial. A vossa presença demonstra o quanto o pensamento do Padre Halík ressoa entre nós, inspirando não só os crentes, mas todos aqueles que procuram respostas para os desafios do nosso tempo. O contributo do Padre Halík transcende fronteiras, é um convite constante ao encontro entre fé e razão, entre a Igreja e o mundo, entre a tradição e a modernidade. Num tempo de grandes incertezas, o seu pensamento surge como uma luz que nos guia em direção a uma fé madura, dialogante e profundamente humana. Para a Paulinas Editoras, é uma honra ser parte da partilha das suas ideias em Portugal. Sabemos que o seu contributo não só enriquece o nosso país, mas também fortalece a Igreja na sua missão de ser sinal de esperança e de reconciliação. Padre Halík, o seu testemunho é um presente para todos nós. Obrigada por estar conosco e por continuar a oferecer-nos palavras que tocam o coração e iluminam a mente. Sejam todos muito bem-vindos e que este final de dia seja rico em partilha e inspiração. Muito obrigada.
Obrigada, irmã Eliette. Sérgio Oliveira, se faz favor.
Já está. Ora, então, muito boa tarde a todos. Muito obrigado por estarem aqui. Eu também vou ser muito breve, não é? Eu só queria dizer que quando eu cheguei à República Checa, há cerca de 20 anos atrás, eu encontrei muitas semelhanças e muitas diferenças em relação a Portugal e ao contexto que eu estava habituado. E uma das diferenças que mais me chamou a atenção realmente foi o facto da República Checa ser um país predominante ateu, onde a maioria das pessoas se considera como tal. São pessoas que são distantes da religião e que se consideram que não acreditam em religião nenhuma. No entanto, eu, conforme fui falando com as pessoas, fui encontrando as pessoas, eu fui percebendo que havia uma pessoa que era um religioso, que era um teólogo, que era o autor deste livro, Tomáš Halík, e que realmente todas as pessoas que eu conhecia respeitavam, ouviam as palavras dele e davam-lhe um imenso valor. E eu achei incrível como naquele contexto que eu estava a conhecer, realmente esta pessoa era capaz de comunicar, tanto com as pessoas dentro da Igreja, como as pessoas que estavam para além das fronteiras da Igreja, com pessoas que andavam à procura da sua espiritualidade, ou mesmo com pessoas que nem sequer perdiam muito tempo a pensar nisso, mas todos tinham uma grande admiração por ele e pelas palavras dele. E eu percebi também que o contexto da República Checa também tem a ver com profundas raízes históricas que atravessaram todas as crises e transformações dos últimos séculos do mundo e da Igreja, e que se associarmos a isso também a própria vivência num regime comunista e a vivência de fazer parte de uma igreja clandestina, nós começamos a perceber o porquê da grande capacidade do autor de refletir sobre as questões atuais do nosso tempo, sobre as crises, sobre as transformações, e ao mesmo tempo esta grande capacidade de comunicar e de ser ouvido por todas as pessoas, quer sejam crentes, quer sejam não crentes. E realmente eu acho que este livro tem todas estas qualidades, esta qualidade de comunicação, esta qualidade de reflexão, e que nos dá uma mensagem de amor, de fé, de esperança, que nos desafia e nos encoraja a fazer um caminho comum, com muito amor. E realmente para mim foi um livro que me tocou muito, que muito me inspirou. Eu gostava de agradecer ao autor por o ter escrito. Realmente gostava de agradecer à editora Paulinas e à Embaixada da República Checa e a todos aqueles que disponibilizam este livro em português. E gostava de agradecer a todos vocês também por estarem aqui. Muito obrigado.
Eu não disse, acho que não disse, que a conferência do padre Halík vai ser em inglês, mas que há tradução simultânea para alguém que queira. Ainda deve haver algumas máquinas lá fora. Agora pedia ao Dom Alexandre Palma que nos dissesse umas coisas.
Com esse caderno de encargos é muito perigoso. Bem, muito boa tarde a todos. Saúdo, faço meus todas as saudações que a Maria já fez e acrescento mais uma, que é saudar a própria Maria, que aqui, com muita alegria para mim, partilhamos um pouco este lugar de interlocução com o padre Halík, que com gosto todos aqui acorremos para o escutar. Seguramente a maior parte de nós, para não dizer a totalidade dos que aqui estamos, porque já o lemos, e seguramente porque dessa experiência de leitura do padre Halík nasceu também a vontade de eu continuar a ler. E daí também este livro que serve de pretexto para este encontro entre amigos. Deixem começar com uma nota um pouco deslocada, porque é um pouco biográfica, embora de uma biografia recente. O protagonista é o padre Halík e, portanto, a isso iremos já de seguida. Mas deixem só começar com esta nota. Como o auditório terá alguma noção, pelo menos uma parte dele, eu fui nomeado bispo há relativamente pouco tempo. E uma das coisas que nos acontece naqueles primeiros dias, depois de ser nomeado para uma coisa como estas, é temos que resolver uma série de coisas e definir uma série de coisas. Não interessa agora aqui o caso, até porque está aqui a anunciatura. Dentre essas coisas, uma delas é tentar eleger um lema, uma divisa, para que sirva como tradução e como inspiração para um ministério que se quer assumir, viver. Bom, e depois de um processo das coisas mais preciosas que eu tenho na vida é ter muito bons amigos, e de um debate e trocar bolas com vários amigos, cheguei àquele versículo do Salmo 30, que no cunho em latim, ad matutinum laetitia, isto é, quando chega amanhã, vem a alegria. Com amanhã vem a alegria. E começo com esta longa volta para vir ao encontro do livro que aqui nos reúne, porque é um livro que fala de sonho e fala de uma nova manhã. E encontrei aqui esta esperança de uma nova manhã, que ao mesmo tempo é uma certeza, aqui um cruzamento, repito, biográfico, com a obra que, repito, é aqui o pretexto de nos reunir. É a certeza de uma manhã que queremos que nasça, que esperamos que nasça, que sabemos que nasça. E é um pouco sobre isto que o Padre Halík vem falando neste livro, fala neste livro, mas vem falando há tantos anos e em tantos livros. Apresentar o Padre Halík, antes de lhe dar a palavra para a sua lição, digamos, é este auditório um pouco dispensável, um pouco redundante, repito. O Padre Halík, aliás, pelo que foi dito, já é um autor bem conhecido já dos leitores em Portugal e aqui em Lisboa também. Já nos visitou várias vezes. O Padre Halík é um teólogo, é um filósofo, trabalha também a área da sociologia da religião, é um pensador, é um pastor, um capelão universitário também. E a meu ver, e se calhar isto é tanto uma apresentação dele quanto a apresentação da minha leitura dele, é alguém que tem tido, tem duas virtudes raras neste tempo, ou tirem o raro e ponham necessárias, que é a coragem e a serenidade. A coragem e a serenidade. A coragem de colocar sobre a mesa, descomplexadamente, talvez algumas das questões mais importantes do cristianismo contemporâneo e da experiência eclesial. Às vezes nós evitamos colocar as questões mais difíceis e ele vem-as colocando. Coragem e serenidade. Não o faz de maneira panfletária, não o faz de maneira ansiosa, não o faz de uma maneira temperada por aquilo que se deduz ser por trás da página, uma vida muito vivida, uma sabedoria acumulada, uma espiritualidade cultivada, uma oração também que alimenta o pensamento. E estes dois traços, a coragem e a serenidade, de alguma maneira depois mostram-se na própria obra, nesta como noutras, mas nesta que nos cabe apresentar ou nos cabe introduzir. Por um lado, uma moderação. O Padre Halík supesa, pondera bastante bem e com muita honestidade intelectual as várias variáveis de problemas que são complexos. E hoje é muito mais fácil e está muito mais acentuar um lado das polaridades ou o outro lado das polaridades. E quem lê o Padre Halík, ele resiste a essa via fácil, a moderação. E eu acho que é preciso muita radicalidade nos tempos que correm para ser moderado. A fundamentação, no sentido em que a vontade de ter opinião, no caso dele, é temperada por saber que é preciso fundamentar o que se diz, que é preciso ler, que é preciso citar autores, e ele cruza teólogos, filósofos, homens de letra, autores, homens e mulheres de letras, e depois traz para a reflexão uma outra coisa que eu acho muito sugestiva e ao mesmo tempo não é atual, é mais do que atual, é do futuro. Traz a imaginação. Faz reflexão, teologia, espiritualidade com imaginação. Isso de alguma maneira aparece neste livro. Creio que não é nenhum spoiler se disser que o Padre Halík dialoga com uma figura que ele imagina. O resto é relativamente redundante ter que estar a dizer. O Padre Halík é professor na Universidade de Karlova, em Praga, República Checa, mas roda ao mundo todo em universidades ou em fundações tão honrosas como a Gulbenkian, por este mundo afora. Autor premiadíssimo de alguns dos prémios mais relevantes nesta nicho de reflexão. O Templeton, o Romano Guardini, o prémio König, Cardeal König. não quero, já disse, mas não quero passar ao lado também da sua dimensão de pastor e de capelão, que aliás inspirou também vários dos seus livros. E depois dizer que ele tem sido, de facto, ao longo destes anos, um ator no sentido radical, isto é, um agente, alguém presente em muitas das voltas e reviravoltas da história contemporânea da Igreja e do seu país, da Igreja fazendo toda a transição de uma Igreja da clandestinidade, onde é ordenado na clandestinidade na Alemanha, no final dos anos 70, mas faz toda esta transição para a Igreja no espaço público, e aliás é isto que aqui fazemos, e acompanha a transição também do seu próprio país e para um novo registro democrático, europeu, moderno, se posso dizer assim. E talvez este seja o último traço que eu queira sublinhar, falo construindo amigos, fazendo amigos, que acho que é um ótimo sintoma de como se pode fazer bem estes processos. O presidente Václav Havel, por exemplo, julgo não enganar o nosso auditório, um amigo querido do padre Halík, mas também o Papa João Paulo II, ou outras figuras de spico, de vulto no catolicismo e no cristianismo contemporâneo. E, portanto, alguém que passa pela vida não só oferecendo-nos estes amigos de papel, que são amigos de papel que aqui temos, mas também fazendo amigos de carne e osso, diz bem não apenas da obra escrita, mas do seu autor, que agora com alegria vamos querer ouvir. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado, Dom Alexandre. Father Halík, we're all ears. The floor is yours, please.
Bishop is always diakon. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I came this week first from Praga to Braga, and then for the third time to Lisbon, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for welcoming, and thank you for a lot of nice words. Let me express my conviction that the Catholic Church stands on the threshold of a great reform. It will be not the first one, it will be not the second one, it will be not the last one. Ecclesia semper reformanda, the Church is always reforming, said St. Augustine. I would like to express my conviction that if the process of synodal renewal initiated by Pope Francis can be continued, it can be of great significance not only for the Catholic Church and Christianity as a whole, but it can be an impulse and inspiration for the whole family of humanity. Our whole planet is undergoing a process of a profound change, geopolitical, but also social and cultural transformations. Our civilization is characterized by global interconnectedness, technological, informational, economic, on the one hand, and the growing divisions and tensions on the other hand. These tensions, often within individual societies, states, nations, churches, generations, and even families, seem to be growing dangerously deeper. The long-term crisis of trust and confidence in the Church, which has escalated with scandals of abuse of power and authority, has shown the need for a transformation of the whole system of relationships in the church, relationship between bishops, priests, laity, men and women, but also of the relationship of the Catholic Church with other churches, religions, and social systems. Synodality, the common way, synodos, presupposes a much broader and deeper ecumenism. Already the Second Vatican Council began the transition from Catholicism, confessional closeness, to Catholicity, the universality and ecumenicity of Christianity. However, ecumenical cooperation can only be good fruit if it keeps in mind an even greater goal than the unity among Christians. The Church understands herself as a sacrament. It is symbol and instrument of the unity to which all humanity is called. I believe that the Pope Francis's document, Fratelli Tutti, which is the fruit of dialogue between Catholic and Muslims, could have a similar inspirational force for the 21st century as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights for the 20th century. In my lecture in Warsaw in the late 1990s, I spoke of the division among Catholics. Some feared that a council meant a threat, even the end of Catholicism. Others complained that the council remained an unfinished revolution. I replied that the council was both, but in a different sense than its critics from the right and from the left spoke of. Indeed, the council was the beginning of the end of Catholicism as a form of the church, as a counterculture against the modern science, modern culture, modern arts, modern age, within the Catholicism, within the rigid boundaries. The council was a step towards the global Christianity, the open Christianity. But if we believe that the council was the work of the Holy Spirit, permanently acting in the church, then it must have been an unfinished event. The work of the Holy Spirit is still ongoing. Jesus says that we don't know where the Spirit comes from or where he goes. To want to stop the blowing of the Spirit in the Jesus' word is the gravest sin, a sin against the Holy Spirit. Jesus urges disciples to learn to read the signs of the times. In this way, he entrusted his church with a prophetic role. The biblical prophets were not predictors of the future, but rather interpreters of the present. Greek, the mother tongue of European culture, and New Testament uses two words to distinguish between two understandings of time, chronos and kairos. Chronos is the linear time of our clocks and calendars. Kairos is a time of opportunity, the time for something. There is a time, kairos, for smile, for laughter, and the time for weeping, a time for war and a time for peace. We read in the Hebrew Bible in the book Ecclesiasticus. The question must always be asked, what is the time for now? The Second Vatican Council presented a certain diagnosis of its time, a list of signs of the times to which the Church should respond. After half a century of dramatic changes in our world, there are new signs of the times for synodal reform that begins in a new historical situation a new methodology of reading the signs of the times is needed. What does God require of us in these times? Christianity have always searched for the answer to this question in the Bible, but also in tradition, because the Bible is the fruit and witness of tradition, and its message needs to be ever more deeply recontextualized and reinterpreted in a changing cultural context. For many, the Living Bible was and is also the book of nature, the book of creation, ongoing creation, creatio continua. The prophetic task, that is the heritage of the biblical prophets, and the task that Jesus entrusts to his disciples for all of history is to find God's language, God's self-revelation, also in history, in the contemporary events, in the transformations of society and culture, in particular, times of change, times of crisis and transition from one epoch to another are kairos, challenges that we should understand and opportunities that we should not miss. It is necessary to distinguish between the signs of the times from the spirit of the times, zeitgeist. The zeitgeist is the language of this world. It remains on the surface. It mirrors rapidly changing fashions in lifestyle, in the style of thinking. It is expression of the conformity to the public opinion. It is influenced by the ideologies and immediate emotional reactions to external stimuli. The signs of the times are the language of God in the events which can only be listened and understood through the contemplative approach to reality. The art of the contemplative approach includes the constant pursuit of inner freedom from our prejudices, the ability to bracket our own prejudices and cultural stereotypes, and the humility to acknowledge the limits of our own perspective. Everybody of us has a limited perspective. We need the community and the community of the church also. Theology always adapt to critics of religion, such Feuerbach, Nietzsche, Marx, and Freud, for recognizing that some religious convictions are projections of our desires and anxieties and reflections of our social conditions or inner tensions. Some are human, often all too human, and sometimes even inhuman, destructive religious ideas must always be subjected to the self-critical hermeneutics of suspicion. In the diagnosis of the times, the Church must take seriously the respectful analysis of sociologists and other social scientists. However, a deeper prophetic interpretation of our times can be contributed by the method we learned in the synodal meetings, infusing our exchange of experiences with moments of contemplative silence, in which we seek to discern God's speech by listening to the others. Recently, in this week, I sent a letter to Pope Francis. My last book is the fictional letters to the fictional Pope, but because I didn't want to bother Pope Francis so much with my ideas and to bother the Vatican Post, but And I understand the Pope has not too much time to listen to all my ideas. But this time I sent a letter to the Pope Francis with some proposal, with some idea. Because people ask, what will be the next step on the way of synodal renewal? There was the synod, and what are the practical fruits? What will be the next step? And I think, and I have this idea in my heart, that the next step should be the Synod of Theologians, but the Ecumenical Synod. There were some particular synods. There was the Synod of the parish priests in Rome this year, and I was invited to give the spiritual impulses, like the Father Timothy Radcliffe at this synod in Rome. And it was very important, the synod of the parish priests. And parish priests are very important for the church, but the theologians are also very important for the church. And I think it's time to put the theologians together, but also from the various religious traditions. That the anniversary of the first ecumenic council in next year, the Council of Nicaea, is a good opportunity to invite the theologians from the various tradition, not just for a conference, a lot of conference, but for the meeting, the synodal meeting, to think together, to pray together, to discuss together in the presence of God, to be open to the Spirit of the Lord. And I think the topic of this synod should be what are the signs of the times today, and how the church, how all Christians should respond to these challenges. Every reform in the church, if it to be a good fruit, requires a deepening of theology and spirituality. On the threshold of the synodal reform, the church needs theology and spirituality in their interconnectedness to contribute to one of the most important tasks of the coming era, to deepen the art of spiritual discernment, the art of reading the sign of the times. Spiritual discernment, it was always a part, especially for the Jesuit spirituality. So the Pope Francis is quoting this very, very often. Everything we see around us, everything we are able to know, is only a small part, fragment of reality. We can understand the meaning of a fragment only in the context of the whole. But the whole reality, to which we give the religious name God, is a mystery to us. God is as an ultimate meaning, remains a mystery. If I were to summarize my decades of theological and pastoral work, because I cannot separate intellectual reflections and pastoral experience, in one sentence, it would be this: God is a mystery. God is an inexhaustible mystery, infinitely beyond all our ideas, concepts, and theories. This does not mean that we should stop our thinking about God. On the contrary, it is a challenge to see God even more deeply and anew, and to regard all our knowledge as incomplete. We must always keep in mind the words of St. Paul, that we now see only in part, as in a mirror, as in a riddles. So the church teaching is very important, that it's enough for our salvation, but it's perhaps not enough for our heart. Our heart is restless. The St. Augustine said, inquietas es cor nostrum. Our heart has unrest until we will be in the arm of God. So we are always on the way. God spoke to our ancestors. He speaks to us, and he will speak to future generations many times and in many different ways. He does not speak only in one place, in one temple, and one culture, but in spirit and in truth. Of the Spirit, Jesus says that we don't know from where he comes and where he goes. But he's a helper, Parakletos, gradually brings us into the whole of the truth. But the whole of the truth, the full knowledge of God, is reserved for the moment at the omega point of history. In the midst of history, we are only on the journey, not at the destination. And we are therefore to accept the multiplicity and plurality with patience and with gratitude. To regard any moment on the path of history, any state of the world, of the church, of the theological and scientific knowledge as final, definitive, closed, unchangeable, is to succumb to the sin of triumphalism. Triumphalism consists in the proud and naive substitution of the earthly church and its theology for the Ecclesia Triumphans, for the church of the saint in heaven. The church, Ecclesia Triumphans, is the church in heaven, is the eschatological church. But we are in midst of history. So we cannot say we are already the Ecclesia Triumphans. The church on earth is the Ecclesia Idols. We must find an altar to an unknown God. The unknown God is not unknown because he is remote and inaccessible. On the contrary, he is unknown precisely because he is infinitely near. In him we live, move, and have our being, says St. Paul. The truly unknown are the things closest to us, of which we ourselves are a part. Therefore, we do not have the necessary distance from them to describe them objectively as an object lying before of us. None of us has seen his own face. We only know its image in the mirror. Paul tried to approach the face of the unknown God in the mirror of the Easter Gospel. Der tolle Mensch, God is dead, God is dead. And what are these churches and temples but empty graves and tombs of a dead God? Many churches, monasteries, and seminaries are emptying out in our part of the world. At the empty, closed church during the coronavirus pandemic, I wondered if it is not a prophetic picture, warning of the near future, if the church will not change itself. So many churches, many seminaries, many monasteries will be empty soon. How are we to speak in these days of the Christ's resurrection, to distinguish it from the legends of slain gods and heroes returning to this world? According to St. Paul, the resurrection is not just a resuscitation of a dead body, but a deep transformation. The gospel emphasizes that the risen Jesus is transfigurated, Not even his nearest and dearest can recognize him at first. He comes and legitimizes with his wounds. I like the legend of the Saint Martin. To Saint Martin, the devil, the Satan, appeared in the figure of Christ. And Martin said, "Where are your wounds?" So the God without wounds, the Christ without wounds, the church without wounds, the faith without wounds is for me not credible. The resurrected Christ has his wounds and is healing us through his wounds, transfigurated wounds, but not disappeared. I have come to realize that the resurrection, the key event in the history of salvation, is a process that is still going on, resurrectio continua. The message the women heard on the Easter morning at the empty tomb is addressed to us as well. Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is risen. He is not here. Go to Galilee. There you will see him. Perhaps we need not weep in the graveyard of certain forms of Christianity. Rather, we are to ask, where is the Galilee of today, where we can encounter Jesus often in a surprisingly altered form? The transformed Jesus does not return to the past, but opens the way to the eschatological future. He lives on in the face and witness of his church, transforming the lives, the bodies of believers into his body and their hearts into his heart. He transformed the heart of the word, the heart of the matter, into his wounded heart, in which all the fullness of the divine dwells. Remember Teilhard de Chardin, and also Pope Francis's encyclical, the last encyclical, Dilexit Nos. Wherever throughout history, Christ enters into the life of people, into the life of individuals, into the life of society, into human history, and ever anew into the life of his church, there the resurrection takes place, the conversions of individuals, the reforms and renewals and conversions of the church are the mystical participation on the ongoing mystery of resurrection. But the message of resurrection only makes sense in the context of the whole Easter story, including the message of the cross, of Jesus' descent into hell. Jesus descends into twofold hell. The hell which is not unknown to many people in our time. First, to the hell of human cruelty and violence, and then to the hell of abandonment by God. Evident in the cry of the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" The theologian G.B. Metz emphasized that the message of the resurrection without the cry of the crucified one is just a legend of a victor, not a proclamation of the gospel. The history of the church is not only resurrectio continua, but also passio continua, ongoing suffering. The journey of faith includes participation in the resurrection, but also participation in the cross and death, the dark nights in the individual human lives, the crisis, the suffering, in the individual human lives and in the history of the church and the history of the world. Wars and crises of all kinds participate in the mystery of the cross. I'm convinced that only a church that dies and rises from the dead is truly Christian church. That only a faith that dies and rises from the dead in the individual lives and in the history is a truly Christian faith. That only a theology that dies and rises from the dead is a truly Christian theology and spirituality. Jesus' key message is a metanoia, transformation, transfiguration. So the Christ came to us to transform us, and he's also transformed, and he would like to transform us. All this crisis, all this suffering is the school of maturing the faith. And if the Easter story is the key to the sense of the history and the sense of the history of the church and the key to the story of our life, then we can understand, that we can accept the Easter story as a whole. We participate. Jesus took their 3 apostles to the light of the Mount Tabor. But the same apostles he took into the darkness of the Gethsemane. And our life and the life of the church is always the mixture of this light and darkness. It will be on all our way. Then at the end, in the arm of God, we can enjoy the fullness of life and the fullness of truth also. If we consider an important mission to look for the living Jesus, the risen, radically transformed, and therefore often unknown to us, also beyond the walls of church buildings, beyond the visible boundaries of the church. Where is the Galilee of today? We can recognize him there, like the Apostle Thomas, by his wounds. The living Christ is the wounded Christ, and he heals our wounds and the wounds of our Lord by the power of his wounds. The Galilee of today is made up of the poor, the hungry, and the thirsty, not only in the social sense, but also in the spiritual sense. They include those whose needs the church has failed to meet and who, for various reasons, have not found an open door into the church's house. Some of them have failed to looking for this. But it also includes a growing number of those who have been disappointed or even hurt by the church and who left it. It soon became clear to me that these people could not be pushed into the existing institutional and mental boundaries of today's church, but rather those boundaries needed to be open and the church enriched by the experience of those who do not walk with us. It is also the synodal way to seek an inclusive form of the church, welcoming the church for all. Per tutti, says always Pope Francis. We are not the club of the perfect people, of the perfect Christian. We are the society of sinners. And we are on the way, no, not in the goal. To those who fear that the church can lose the identity in the attempt to widen the boundaries, I answer, the identity of the church is not consisted by the boundaries that separate us from the others, but what unites us with them, that process of resurrectio continua, the growing presence of Christ in the church, but also outside. Deus semper maior, Christus semper maior. Jesus is always greater than we can imagine. And there is always place for contemplation, for seeking. The Pope always say, yes, we must see God, but when we discover Him, we must see again. And God is present in all things. And our faith, our life of faith is the adventure to discover God also hidden and hidden on with many anonymity, with the mask. Only the scene of the last judgment, as we read in the Gospel of Matthew, it will be the moment when the Christ will took off all the mask and say, "It was me, the man you gave the bread and water, and it was me, the man you pushed away." So Jesus is always with us, but sometimes in anonymity, and the last judgment will be a great surprise for everybody. What is specifically Christian is precisely the transcendence, self-transcendence, self-fulfilling in self-giving, self-emptying, what St. Paul called kenosis, or in a more familiar word, love. Love is the self-giving. The whole spiritual landscape of our world has changed rapidly in the recent times. Not only traditional religious certainties are now shaken, but also the certainties of the modern world, especially as a result of unexpected events such as coronavirus pandemic and now the violence in Ukraine and Palestine, which may escalate into a nuclear war. The Church finds herself in a new situation, and under the pontificate of the Pope Francis is seeking new paths, a new form. If the synodal renewal is to go deep and not remain on the surface, it must not focus only on changes in the institutional structures or in the Church's canon of codex of the Church law and some moral textbooks. These changes presupposes a change of mentality, renewal, and deepening in the area of theology and spirituality. Pope Francis outlines the features of the future theology in his document Ad Theologiam Promovendam. The theology of tomorrow must overcome the fatal entrenchment between an academic theology and spirituality. Pope Francis understands spirituality as a living practice of the faith, the experience of the people of our time with the world, including a sensitivity to the poor and the suffering and the cry and the sensitivity to the cry of the earth, a planet destroyed by the human irresponsibility, is the locus theologicus. Here we find the sign of times as God's speech to us. In my last book, I write about the fact that Christianity has lost its role in our civilization during the modernity as a religion, religio, as an integrating force of the whole society. But there are two possibilities how to translate and how to understand the word religio, religion. It could be derived from the verb religare, to integrate, to put together. So the Christianity as the integrating force for the culture of the whole society. It was the traditional role in the past, but it's over. But there is also the possibility of a new understanding of religion. Religion can be also understood as derived from the verb relegere, to read again, to read again, to read deeper, to understand deeper, the new understanding, new interpretation, to relegere, to this relectire. It's our task also to see and to read the sign of the times, to read also the story of our own life again, not so superficially, with this contemplative approach, to try to understand the deeper meaning. It is the relectire, it is the religio of tomorrow, I think. We need this. Here I see an important role for the religion in the future, to be the school for a new, deeper reading, a deeper contemplative approach to reality, including this sign of the times. In my book, The Afternoon of Christianity, I express the hope that we stand at a critical point, kairos, in the historical development of Christianity. Something is dying, but something is now sometimes there are the pains, but there are pains of dying, and there are the birth pains also, and it is not easy to recognize it. So the midday crisis of Christian history in this book, Afternoon Christianity, I use the metaphor which the Carl Gustav Jung used for the individual human life. That the youth is the morning, then came the midday crisis, and then the afternoon is the opportunity to maturity, to go deeper. And I think it is now this time, and perhaps the synodal process, the synodal renewal, is the moment we can go deeper. Many people and many priests and many Christians are tired. It's similar like when the Christ came to his future apostles. They were the fishermen. They were tired and say, "We have been working all the night, but our nets are empty." Many people, many priests think, "We are tired. Our nets are empty." But Jesus said, "Try it again." And go to the deep and try it again. To try again, it doesn't mean to repeat our old mistakes. It means to go deeper, to go in the depths. So not to go to the right, to the left, but to the deep. And so I think the midday crisis of Christian history, the darkness at the noon, this collective dark night, the shattering of certainties, opens the possibility for the more mature form of Christianity. To go through the crisis is always the challenge, the opportunity to go deeper, to go to the maturity. In my book, Dream of the New Morning, Letters to Pope, I made the recipient of my letters to Pope who appeared to me in a dream. So Pope Francis said, "Let us dream." And I, as an always obedient priest, I do it. And I do it, and in one of my night dreams appeared the new Pope, and I have chosen him as a partner for he has a lot of time for me, and he can listen to all my questions. Yes, I didn't want, as I said, to bother the Pope Francis and the Vatican Post office with my letters, but Pope Raphael does not give me answers in this book. After all, I believe there are some questions that are so good that it is a shame to spoil them with the answers. my fictional conversation remains open, and the book is an invitation to the reader to enter it. So thank you for the opportunity to invite you in the world of my questions, searches, and hopes. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Halík. Would you like to join us, please? I believe you need your... Yes. While you get settled, I would like to maybe dare to summarize your what you shared with us in maybe 7 points. The first, with the word kairos, the favorable time, the time for us to look for Christ, the risen Christ, the wounded risen Christ in the Galilees of today. The second point would be about the church, that it is semper reformanda. It's not finished. It's not. It's an eschatological journey, and we need that to have that in mind. Thirdly, what is specific about Christianity is the transcendence, that self-giving, that kenosis, that transformation, that love. Fourthly, God is always a mystery, and we need a contemplative approach to give God its right place. Fifthly, there's this passio continua, resurrectio continua, the ongoing suffering, the light and darkness, the theology of the cross, the wounded Christ that is the one we meet and is the one who transforms us. Thirdly, there is the methodology. You just briefly mentioned it, but I liked it particularly in the book that you took the 3 theological virtues as the methodology to get to this other thing, which is the art of spiritual discernment. Then finally, the Catholicism versus Catholicity that we may want to get a little more into, but it's a new understanding of the role of religion. You also mention in the book, it's not possible to go beyond religiosity and the institution. It's just that we have to understand, go deeper, as you were saying, what is the role of religion. So thank you so much for that. And I would like to ask Dom Alexandre to please share with us some of your reactions.
Well, if I may, well, I'll be speaking in English, so, okay. Well, at least I will try to. I apologize for my grammar, perhaps. Well, first of all, let me just say that as I see it, this dialogue is kind of a way of adding some extra pages to your book. It's like the opportunity of engaging here in the dialogue is like, well, benefiting from your presence here in Lisbon. And if I may, you were quoting Pope Francis, and when he talks a lot about dreams, so let me just tell you with a bit of an honor that you came to the right place. For when Pope Francis left Lisbon about a year ago, one of his last speeches on World Youth Day, he called Lisbon, and I'm quoting, I guess, a city of dreams. So this is the place to come. So you nailed it, okay? Well, but dialogue, I think this kind of interaction, of conversation, I think it has a lot to do with, I would say, what goes through it has a lot to do with the atmosphere of your thinking and of your writing. And I was saying it's kind of broadening the book still and adding some quotes, adding some. So this is where I'm aiming at. Well, just like Maria, I too, more as a book reader. Well, I'm quite sensitive, so I'm quite interested in bringing together different issues. And if I may, just a very long list of pairs you use in your book. So, the spirit of times and the signs of times, Catholicism and Catholicity, religio as connecting and as rereading, if one could translate this way, passio continua, resurrectio continua, theology and spirituality, transformation and identity. This is, I think, it's a huge topic. Ecclesial form and ecclesial content, autonomy and heteronomy. So, and this is, I think Father Halík kind of nails it in the solution to this eternal issue on ethics. So autonomy or heteronomy, and I think, but you have to read the book. I won't tell you what it is. Modern form of Catholicism or Christianity versus what? Question mark. Fragments and wholeness, inculturation and exculturation. Nostalgia or traditionalism, triumphalism, progressivism, orthodoxy and orthopraxy, and orthopathy. This is kind of a kind of realism and hope, chronos and kairos, and I could go further on. But let me come to the first pair I mentioned, and Maria too, and let's address the issue straight on. Father Halík, what makes an event, a trend, a situation, a word, a feeling, a thought, a book? What makes this a sign of times? Okay, well, I think we come to I think, and I hope at the same time, we came to a stage of maturity in the post-Vatican II period reception that I think that, and I'm hoping, okay, perhaps you'll call me naive, and I'm happy with that, but I think we came to a time where no one really struggles with the idea of sign of times. I think we struggle with conflicting interpretations of the same signs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of us see one sign as a positive and others might see it as a negative. And so my topic is, I don't think we are discussing about the validity of signs of times. I think we are struggling with the interpretation of the signs of times. How would you comment on this?
Mm-hmm. I think one answer is the answer of the St. Ignatius, his method of recognizing the spirits. And he always say, if some event, we must put it deeper in our heart and then recognize what it has left in us. If there is something what is the effect of it is a fear, anger, and so it is not from God. If there is an inner peace and joy and inner freedom, it is perhaps the gift of God. So this is the answer of the St. Ignatius, the Jesuit spirituality, and I think we can apply this not only for our individual, but also for what happens in the world, and so it is one possible answer. I think there are many other answers. Also, many events are in fact have some paradoxal ambiguity. They have some dark side and also the bright side. Globalization. There are some great challenges and great dangers. So many Pascal already said we can who does not want to believe, he can find many arguments for unbelief. And who wants to believe, he can find many arguments for the belief. So there is a challenge. There must be some sort of what is the expression in the Pascal? So we can say this glass is half empty or half full. We can interpret it in the very different ways. I was this year in a conference in Louvain, and I sat by one Indian theologian, and he said to me, you in the West, you are always struggling. Something is no, it's bad, but we say, I would like to add something to this. I would like to complete it. You are not wrong, but I would like to add something to this. So the complement, not to say, you are not right. Perhaps there is some it should be completed. So in this way, also to try to complete the complexity,
Father Halík, that touches very much what you were saying about discernment and about interiority and contemplation. But we live in a world, as we all know, full of noise, and where we do find signs that people are looking for nature, and people are looking for places where they can find themselves and they can search for things. But it's not an easy place, not an easy time to find time and places for contemplation. And if we don't have that, then all this process is so much harder. So what is your suggestion, or because it's important to also connect to the fact that one of the signs of the times is that our times are full of activity, and a lot of it is very good. Action, very good. Not just activism, but actions that are very good, very generous, very broad. And so how do we combine the two things?
It's not easy. And the spiritual life and the spiritual path is not a cheap, it's not an easy way. It's a difficult, demanding way, and we have to sacrifice something. So I think there is no other way. We must take time. We must try to liberate ourselves from the prejudices, from these emotions, emotional reactions. So this is very the most dangerous thing in our world now politically is the populism. The people, they are offering the simple answers to the complicated questions. But there are no simple answers to the complicated questions. We must think, we must contemplate, we must take time and energy to think about it. If we say we have no time, we have no energy, we must always work and receive some more money and so, it will be very bad for our for our world. So I think there needs some sacrifice to discover this depth dimension of our life. There's no cheap answers. Not easy. Difficult. The market of the kitsch spirituality is very rich. That's the market. If the church was not able to recognize the time, when is the time to develop more spirituality. But the market was more flexible, and they have the very rich how to have the wisdom of the Tibetan Buddhist in 3 weeks, and enlightenment, 1 week for enlightenment, and so there's a great market of this. But it is the idols, it is the false gods. So the way, the following Christ is not so easy. It's easy when we have really love for Christ, then it is some way easy for us. Then we have the strength to take our cross and go with this. With this, when we are really devoted, like the mother. The mother is love the child. She's ready to do great things, very difficult things, and it's not difficult for her because she loves the child. But without the love, it is not possible. So we need the force of love. And also the patience, and to take time, to take energy. The spiritual life is not very cheap and easy way.
So, moving on to another subject, which to my reading, I think it's important to you. And not just to you, because I must say that also other authors and thinkers and theologians have been talking about this too, which is the diagnosis, if I may quote you, that we are coming to a transition of time, which for Christianity means the coming to a close from this modern stage of Christianity. Modern in the sense of the sense of the big picture, so starting with modernity, and we kind of feeling the struggles of this transition. So this is a main topic of your thinking. So, but let me bring together that assertion to the one Maria just quoted a bit ago, which is, but at the same time, there is no faith, there is no Christian faith without ecclesial religion, if I'm quoting this way. So we need kind of historical form, we need mediation, we need symbols, we need communities, we need rites, we need myths, we need all of that. The idea that one could live an intense religious experience all by him or herself, I think it's kind of this is my time to say it, naive. And I think, and I'm I'm thankful that you bluntly say that in your book. So, but crossing the two ideas, and I know I'm about to ask an impossible question to answer. So, what needs to remain from this modern form of Christianity, and what needs to go?
So first of all, we should trust God. God is creative, and He can always surprise us. That when He closed the door, sometimes He opened another door. I'm saying this, for example, if there's so many rosaries, pilgrims praying for more religious vocations, and the number of the candidates is always diminishing. And so does it mean that God does not listen to us, or we don't listen what he's saying to us. I'm just quoting this nice Jewish anecdote. It's also, I think, in this my book, that the lady asked the Rabbi, I prayed, I asked God 10 years for winning in lottery, and God didn't answer me. And the Rabbi said, he did answer. He said no. And sometimes God is closing some doors, but He's opening another doors. Perhaps, as I say, so this type of educating the priests, this type of seminary, and so, it's perhaps not enough. You must discover something new, and you must be creative. You must be creative. You must have a courage. Yes, also the responsibility, of course, but a courage and creativity. I think it was exactly in the time of the pandemic when the church were closed. For many Christians, it was the beginning to think about the faith, because they were used to go on the Sunday Mass, and it was enough. And there were some Catholic families, they never have spoken about the faith in the family, because yes, it is the role of the priest on the Sunday Mass, and we go for the Sunday Mass, and it's enough. But now it was closed, and some of people started to read the Bible, started to share their religious experience, to say to exchange their doubts, problems, and hopes. I think it was God's pedagogic. So sometimes the God is closing a door, but we shouldn't just push on this, but to look if there's another door is open for us. So creativity, courage, and responsibility, of course.
In that context, you talk a lot about, in the book, about the principal mission of the church as to develop the art of discernment. You've touched a little bit on just now, but that means you need a one-on-one conversation, right? I mean, you can imagine that people can go to a monastery on a retreat and get some help there, but if it's going to be a continuous gift the church gives us, is carrying that gift from the Holy Spirit to us as a community, then our communities will have to change a little bit the way they relate. People relate inside the communities. Do you have any more ideas or can you imagine what those communities are going to look like?
I think this is the synodality. This is the sense of the synodality, that we sit together, we pray together, we meditate together, we exchange our experiences. Our experiences, the experience of everybody of us is limited. We have our special limited experience, and we need the others also. And the synodal meetings are the opportunity to listen that God can speak also through the other people. Sometimes through the other people, they are not very sympathetic to us. But it is the great tradition in the church. It is the rule of Saint Benedict. Saint Benedict said the abbot has the responsibility to decide, but before the decision, he must ask each member of the community, and each member of a community have a moral duty to express frankly his view. And then he can decide. So I think this is something like this synodal process. So we can listen to each other, and in our heart also, and in the prayer. So it is great. These synodal meetings are sort of prayer. It's a contemplation. It's not just like the meetings. Working meetings. There's also a way of prayer, and we need other people, and we need the church, not only to receive some documents from above, but also the community. We are the church. No? There's always what the church will do. We are the church, and it was the great decision of the Pope that he said, I will not write a special document. Now the floor is yours. So the synod, it was not the council which should decide all the things. It is sort of a spiritual retreat to put some inspiration, to support the courage to people and the responsibility of the people, and then the floor is open. Now go and try to seek the right answer, the right solution. That cannot be, if the people are always criticize the bishops, and so I say it is also the clericalism, because they expect it that it will be done always from above. Yes, the bishops, the clergy have the responsibility, special responsibility, but we cannot delegate all our responsibility for the hierarchy. And this is the synodal renewal. We must take also our responsibility, but with the humility, of course, but also with the courage.
Perhaps having to do with that, your reasoning about Christianity as religio, and the way, well, I appreciate in a twofold manner the way you think on this, which is first, you call the attention of your reader for something that Christianity and the Second Vatican Council also adopts, assumes, and proclaims, which is the Church thinks about itself not only as a sacrament of unity of Christians or of the baptized, but has kind of an overwhelming dream, if I may, of being also a sacrament of unity of all humanity. So this religio, even though that cannot be done in the modern past form, I think there's something there. So kind of a public service that Christianity and therefore the Church also brings to society or societies. But on the other hand, that reinterpretation of the idea of religio, coming also to its etymology, or one of its eventual etymologies, relegere, which brings us the interpretation as helping ourselves and others, and all together in this synodal platform, to make sense, make meaning out of things, out of life. So that's kind of this hermeneutical approach, kind of reading in the most broad of sense. So, but just to tease you up, how can that be done when we sometimes have the impression there is so much religious illiteracy or analphabetism, or isn't that kind of counter to your to your dream of a more hermeneutical task?
So we have a lot of work. we have a lot to do. It's also we are also guilty that there is the illiteracy, the religious illiteracy. It is not that the people are not willing, and so sometimes we are not able to transmit our message in the understandable and in the credible way. So it was a very important turn in the interpretation of atheism at the Vatican Council. Before, the atheism was always the fruit of the people. They are so stupid, they are not able to understand our apologetics, or they are so bad they don't want to have some God as a moral supervisor. And they are the main reason for atheism. And the council said, no, the main reason for atheism is the non-credibility of the Christians. If the Christians are not enough credible, so it is the main reason why the people, it is not the all reasons, of course, there are many reasons, a very complicated question, but there is also our guilt, and then there is a task. There's our task and the challenge to try to this re-evangelization and a new evangelization was the idea of John Paul II, but it was perhaps not enough new, not enough radical. Because it was a nice idea, but I didn't see so great fruits of this. And also, it was a nice idea of the Pope Benedict about the courtyard for the Gentiles. It spoke to my heart because I thought this is my mission always to speak with the agnostics and the spiritual seekers and to create some space for those people. But now the situation is different. We are not in the situation that we have a wonderful temple and we can invite the people come and we will create a special place for you. So I think this temple structure of the church was so destroyed that we must go out. It is the great idea, the Bergoglio, the day before his election, he quoted this scene from the Apocalypse, Jesus stand by the door and knock. But he knocks from inside. He won't go outside, and we must follow him. We cannot stay in the closed space. We must follow Christ and go where the people are wounded, where are the poor, where are the thirsty, but not only the physically and social thirsty, also the. And I like this metaphor of the Pope Francis, the church as a field hospital, and I think it should be developed. So the field hospital needs also some very good hospital, which can develop many different ministries. This diagnosis of the time, treatment, but also the recovery, the rehabilitation, because especially after some difficult situation, after the dictatorship, after the war, the society is wounded, and the people need a reconciliation. It will be if the war in the Ukraine will be stopped, so it will be not the end of the story. That will be for generations some tensions between the nations, and the Palestine and the Israelis the same. Perhaps there will be some miraculous president who will solve the problem in 24 hours. I don't believe it, but if he did it, that there will stop of shooting it will be not the whole story solved. They are the wounds for generations. So this reconciliation, it is a spiritual task, and especially for the churches. So the church as a field hospital, I think, and as a hospital, as the healing power of a religion, it is the task for the future.
One last question from us before we give you the floor for questions, but it's not something you mentioned in your talk, but you do have a full chapter about it in the book, about artificial intelligence. And I think it's a very, very relevant question for today. I know at home we talk a lot about it. We have young people there, who help me a lot to understand what's happening. But what I would like to hear from you, you do ask, I think, the right questions. What is it that is exclusively human? What it is that the most intelligent machine will not be able to do?
To contemplate. I think it's really this, the quickly answer artificial intelligence. It's something fascinating, but also dangerous and suspicious. It is the reason for my suspicion. I have first time very nice confrontation with the artificial intelligence. Some students. It's okay. We will ask the artificial intelligence what is the meaning of Tomáš Halík about oranges. And there was, in a moment, there was an answer. We don't know exactly what Tomáš Halík thinks about oranges, but he would perhaps say that is a question that should be solved from the moral and spiritual. So look at, and but it is connected with the problem of the healthy lifestyle. And about the healthy lifestyle, Tomáš Halík wrote so and so. So it is like the student. He always say, yes, you ask for Nietzsche. Nietzsche was very important, but Freud. then always the good students always know the art how to turn the question to what he knows. And the artificial intelligence is genius in this. They always, in the moment, they can turn to what is already done. But it is not really so much creative, and this speed that is in 1 minute is in 2 seconds is the answer. So it is something which is fascinating, but also suspicious. There is not the moment of contemplating, to think again. There is always the ability to put all the dates together and then to create some summary, but to create something absolutely new, it must go from this depths of contemplation, and I think the machines are not able to do it.
Well,
it is the proprium humanum.
Now, anyone, there will be 2 microphones. As perguntas podem ser feitas em português. O padre Halík vai ter tradução das perguntas que forem feitas em português, e os microfones estão um de cada lado, portanto, quem quiser fazer uma pergunta, faça. Aqui já há uma mão levantada, se faz favor. Não sei onde é que este microfone aqui à frente, aqui mesmo à frente, segunda fila. Obrigada.
The artificial intelligence can recitate the prayer, but it cannot pray.
That's a good one.
Boa noite. Eu li os livros do padre Halík.
Martin Heidegger said the techniques bridge all the distances, but didn't create any nearness. So please.
Boa noite. Li os seus livros e meditei-os. Está bem? Está bem. E meditei-os muito. E ocorre-me que é uma questão de poder. O poder como potência de cada um, ou seja, aquilo que somos e aquilo que podemos ser. E a Igreja tem sido muito o dever ser. E é uma prepotência que, de certa maneira, cria impotência. E eu gostava... Não ouviu? Há uma educação eclesiástica para a minoridade, para o dever ser, e gera culpa e impede cada um de ver o que é e o que pode ser.
I think it is the task of the pastoral work to accompany the people, to go with these troublesome people, and this is the accompanying ministry of the church, and especially for these minorities and for the special people in need, and so. There is a special mission of the church to be sensitive to the minorities, and so. If I
think it works now. I hope.
Mais perguntas? Ver com a luz na cara nem sempre vê. Façam ótimo, ali um gesto grande.
Father Halík.
Yes.
Here. Progress is unstoppable. This is a difficult question. Genetic engineering is coming into place. How do you think that a new humankind will be in the future in what concerns spiritual reality? I mean, we are changing humankind with genetic engineering. What do you think it will come to humankind?
It's a difficult question. I have the Templeton Prize, but I haven't the Nobel Prize. If I would know the questions, I will receive the Nobel Prize. Yes, it's a difficult question. We don't know how to do it, so we must always be sensitive and careful and to judge the situation. But there are some prophetic novels from the Czech writer Karel Čapek. There is the famous drama RUR, Rozum Universal Robots, and the word robots came from this. It is the Czech word, the robot, and there is some prophetic that sometimes also the machines could be more human. We see that the machines have more and more similarity to human, but the people have more similarity to machines. So this this tension. So how it will be in the future, it is the open question, nobody knows. There is.
Eu devo ser das mais recentes leitoras do padre Halík. Eu devo ser das mais recentes leitoras do padre Halík, mas estou fascinada e estou a gostar imenso e é espantoso porque foi uma capa de um livro que me chamou a atenção e pensei, se calhar é um livro a ler. E, entretanto, muito bem aconselhada nas Paulinas, comecei por um livro que seria mais fácil para começar e, espantosamente, há pouco tempo, um tio ofereceu-me aquele livro daquela capa, que eu hei de ler depois. E uma das coisas que me chamou muita atenção é esta questão de a República Checa ter muitos ateus. Eu fui 2 vezes a Praga, uma em 91, vim direta da Jornada Mundial da Juventude na Polónia, portanto naquela euforia toda à volta do padre João Paulo II e sobretudo logo após a queda do Muro de Berlim. E encontrei uma cidade deserta, que éramos só nós e pouco mais, os checos muito fechados, inclusive a minha prima Leonor falava alemão e ninguém falava alemão, percebiam, nós percebíamos que eles percebiam, mas ninguém respondia. E ao mesmo tempo uma cidade mágica e nós vinhamos numa euforia de juventude. Da segunda vez que eu estive em Praga foi em 2007, que já era uma cidade europeia, com todas as lojas, com todo o comércio, com toda a confusão. Mas no mapa chamou-me a atenção um convento de Santa Inês. Eu fui visitar o convento, que hoje em dia é um museu, tem um espaço de concertos, de espetáculos. Mas o espantoso é que aquele espaço, que hoje em dia não está ligado à igreja, tem uma parte de arte sacra, mas as pedras respiram espiritualidade. E exatamente por esse respirar de espiritualidade pensei, eu não sei nada sobre Santa Inês, mas vou estudar, vou ler, quero conhecer. Chamou-me a atenção porque sou Inês, portanto foi daí que partiu. E o espantoso é que a história dela tem um bocadinho a ver com a minha, pouquinho. Mas o que é também muito engraçado e curioso é que Santa Clara considerava a metade da sua alma. Possivelmente são amigas de papel, por carta, desconheço, mas é espantoso como é que com aquela distância e no norte da Europa há um convento com um claustro, com laranjeiras, possivelmente foram as sementes que foram mandadas de Assis, e depois, ao mesmo tempo, ser um país vizinho da Polónia, que é o 80 oposto desse ateísmo. Não sei se é um fenómeno de João Paulo II, não sei, e da sua criatividade de fazer as peregrinações com a moldura de Czestochowa, mas é um fenómeno. Obrigada. Muito obrigada.
What is the question? It was just a comment.
Não, era só constatar um facto curioso da antítese dos dois países muito próximos.
So, okay, so there are the great differences between the Czech and Polish spirituality. Now in our time, each 10 priests in our country is from Poland. But some of them are very good because they are quite energetic. So our priests are a little bit so not to provoke and so. But the Polish priests are very proud. But some of them there's quite another spirituality because the whole history, the religious history of Poland and the Czech is absolutely different. In Poland, the Catholic Church was always the pillar of the national identity against the Protestant Germany, against the Orthodox Russia. But in our country, there was this violent recatholicization in the 17th century, and the church was connected with the Habsburg monarchy, so the modern nationalism has some anti-clerical moments. So it's a very, very, very different situation, but we are not an atheist country. There is some spirituality which must be discovered. It is not so visible. We don't like these very visible things, but in the depths there is something which is very, very, very interesting. But we have to have some sensitivity to go deeper, not just very quickly judgment about it. And now in Poland is the most rash secularization in Europe. So now it's diminishing the number of priests and so on. It's a very rash secularization. So, and I myself baptized almost 3,000 adults in our parish in the 33 years after the fall of communism. So in this atheistic country. So there are some paradoxes. The things are not so easy to understand from the first view. We must a little bit to go deeper and to see the whole context and so on.
Mais uma pergunta aqui, se faz favor o microfone, aqui embaixo. Se alguém quiser já levantar o braço, a gente manda o microfone para lá. Então, o microfone para ali, o segundo microfone. Isso mesmo.
Father Tomáš, I would just like to know if you are already working on another book, if you have a new project, and if you have one, what it is about.
Not exactly. I'm now traveling a little bit too much, and I must prepare my lectures in several continents also. So I'm now more working on these lectures. But yes, there's something always. But it is a process. It's not yet ready to express it.
Okay. Someone who has already the microphone, exatamente.
Okay, Father Thomas, thank you for your conference. I'd like to ask to comment on my synthesis of your lecture. Can I approach reading the Signs of Times as a path to holiness, i.e. The union with God and fraternity? And I would like to ask, will I become holier if I look at the world, read it with the church, and act accordingly? Thanks. Wasn't I clear?
In some way. So, at least it is the way to wisdom. The wisdom and holiness is not exactly the same, but perhaps it is the path to maturity and to wisdom to read the sign of the times.
Is it the last question? I thought we had some more time, but okay, so one question over there, the lady who has the microphone, please.
Li o seu livro, A Tarde do Cristianismo. I can speak in English if you wish. Li o seu livro, English? In English. Li o seu livro, A Tarde do Cristianismo. Oh, sorry. I read your book, The Afternoon of Christianity, and I was really impressed with the openness you foresee in the future of the Catholic Church. The first question is, do you feel that the actual Catholic Church is ready to understand what you were telling them? And how long do we need to wait? Do you trust God in that case, or do you trust the Catholics? Thank you.
I trust God. Sometimes it's not easy. I trust the church. Sometimes it's not easy. We must always struggle with crisis, with shadows. But I thought that our spiritual path is the mixture of darkness and light. So we are on the way. We are not in heaven. Not all the things are solved, and not all the things will be solved during our history. So we are always the communio viatorum, so the drama between sin and holiness is always in our hearts and in our churches, in our nations. So it's always the open question. So if somebody is the church ready? So who is the church? We are the church. Are we ready? Some of us, yes. Some of us, no. But it's always this clerical, it is the clericalism to ask, is the church ready? What is the church? We are the church. Are we ready? Some of us, yes. Some of us, no. And sometimes in the single heart there is the struggle between the darkness and the light.
Thank you so much. We have very grateful for your for sharing all these with us, for this conversation. It was very important. And thank you very much, Dom Alexandre, for being with us too. And I had thought to wrap this up, to quote you in perhaps the last sentence of that amazing book, O Entardecer do Cristianismo. And it sounded to me so special that, in a sense, we're ending with what Dom Alexandre said at the beginning about this morning, this hope, this light that comes. And in the book you say, será que o conceito de tarde não sugere a proximidade da noite, da extinção e da morte? De acordo com o conceito bíblico de tempo, um dia novo começa com a noite anterior. Não percamos o momento em que a primeira estrela aparece no céu noturno. Thank you.